Hello all, Shadwell here, ready to talk about the next film in my collection, Cliffhanger from 1993. It's directed by Renny Harlin and stars Sylvester Stallone and John Lithgow. This is a first on two levels for my collection. It is the first of several Sylvester Stallone starring films in my collection, and it is the first of a slightly less amount of films directed by action film junkie Renny Harlin. First off, before I get too far into this review, I want to give a shout out for Max Perlich, who plays one of the extreme sports base jumpers in this film. It's a relatively small role and fairly unimportant, but Max Perlich was very familiar to me as I am a longtime fan of the TV series Homicide: Life on the Street, in which he had a recurring role. So it was nice to see him elsewhere in something. Now on to Cliffhanger proper. As an individual with a fear of heights, I gotta say this film really gets my blood pumping and freaks me out. I don't just have a fear of being high up, I also have a fear of being next to tall objects. It's weird, but when I stand next to a tall object, a building or something that's at least 12 stories, and I look up towards its roof, my legs get really weak and it's hard to breathe. I'm sure it's not as unique as I'm making it out to be, as I'm pretty sure other people have this specific fear, but just don't talk about it. Anyway, actually on to Cliffhanger proper. For real this time. This is an action movie that fires on all cylinders. It's about a group of bad guys that take a group of rescue climbers hostage while looking for ill-gotten gains. And while that's not the best plot synopsis, it is the shortest I can give without getting too heavily into it. This movie is wild, with so many heart-racing stunts it's almost ridiculous. In fact, one got left on the cutting room floor specifically because the test audience laughed at how ridiculous it was. And since we're talking stunts, this film holds a Guinness World Record for most expensive stunt at the cost of $1 million. It's the one in the first 30 minutes that I'm not going to spoil here because just mentioning it takes a little bit of the juice out of it. It's best to be experienced blind. But for all its action, it doesn't have much time to tell a story, really. So there's a negative for sure, but sometimes you want to just kick up your feet, grab the popcorn, and enjoy something mindless, and at that, this film excels. Plus, I'm always a fan of anything that casts John Lithgow as a villain. Maybe not Ricochet levels of villainy in this film, but a villain is still a villain. I'm gonna give Cliffhanger a B-, and tomorrow we move on to a little bit of the ultra-violence when we watch my third Stanley Kubrick film, A Clockwork Orange. See y'all then.